Hi, Matt Stait here again from the Festival of Martial Arts, and today I'm joined by Terry Lee. Terry, hi, my friend.
Hi, how you doing? Good to see you. Good to see you, Matt.
Oh, thanks very much for coming on, and thanks for agreeing to be part of the festival. We're really looking forward to it. So when I start these things, I always start pretty much the same way, which is asking you to give a brief overview of who you are and what you do, so that for some people that may not have heard of you can get an idea of who you are.
Okay, good one. We can do that. Well, I'm Terry Lee. I've been around probably not as long as the dinosaurs, but we've been around for quite a long time. I started my martial arts in the mid 80s. We started with all sorts of things. We tried a bit of judo, we tried a bit of Thai boxing, but then I found Jiu Jitsu, and Jiu Jitsu was the thing for me. And yeah, it all started with one of my friends saying one day, come down to this club. There's a guy here who twists elbows and he puts his locks on." And I went one day and I was totally hooked on it. So I've been teaching for quite a while. We set up Warrior Martial Arts in 1991. And we've been teaching there ever since. So it's a traditional Japanese school. So we teach traditional Jap. We do Okinawan weapons. We teach Kick-Jutsu, which is Japanese sort of art of kicking, fighting art. And I also teach Kpop, which is Israeli Krav Maga. So yeah, it's full on. It's quite going.
Yeah, pretty very well rounded. So the one of the instant questions that people always ask is the differences between the branches of the jiu-jitsu tree, if you like. So yours being Japanese based and orientated, what's the main differences for those that aren't quite sure between that and the rise of BJJ at the minute?
Well, okay, yeah. I mean, a lot of our work is taken from not just one attacker, maybe multiple attackers. It all starts stand up, and we tend to control more stand up than take to the floor. So we do groundwork, of course. That's a big part of our jiu-jitsu, but it's not predominantly all groundwork. So we do a lot of stuff, from multiple attacks, from weapons, from knives, from sticks, from different holds, grabs, chokes, strangles, everything you can think of, really. So it's a full sort of system. BJJ is absolutely brilliant. I mean, it's fantastic. But I think we may do a lot more stand up. So we cover the whole thing, the whole parameter of jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. Again, it's just one of those where when it's a bit like when somebody says martial arts to somebody that doesn't do any martial arts, they sort of think of whatever version of it, and they think that everything falls into that. And it's kind of the same when sometimes people say jiu-jitsu, people instantly assume that it's BJJ because that's got a lot of prominence at the moment. So with regards to your teaching yourself then and your journey yourself, was what sort of attracted you to that side of things? Was it because back in those days, like when I started, which was a very similar time, there was only a few things available and you took what was to hand initially? Was it because of that, or did you actively seek out jiu-jitsu itself?
Yeah, so I've been dabbling in other martial arts, and like I say, it just really appealed to me because it seemed all round. There was striking, there was kicking, there was a lot of grappling, throwing, and it just seemed to call out to me. And yeah, you're right. I mean, in those days, I mean, in the mid '80s, it was quite rare. I mean, you'd have the judo, you'd have a bit of karate, you'd have maybe the kickboxing was just really coming in at that point, and you'd have those things and traditional boxing of fencing, even, some more traditional, shall we say, what sort of British martial arts. But yeah, it just appealed to me because it was all round, and it was nice to be able to control someone with redirection rather than having to meet force with force, if you know what I mean. So my jiu-jitsu, we work on a lot of redirection, and it works really well, and that's what appealed to me, really.
Yeah, totally. Again, it makes perfect sense. So that sort of leads on when you went through that, and you were saying that you started there, but then you moved into other things, and you talked about Kpop at the end there. Now, Kpop is something again that I have done a lot of over the years. I started way back when it first started coming into the country, and again, I was curious to figure out how you see this, because I think there's actually between the Japanese Ju Jitsu and the Kpop, I think there's an awful lot of crossover. They follow very similar pathways. What do you think about that?
Well, yes, I mean, true. I mean, I think what I've seen of Kpop is quite a bit. I mean, it's like, I suppose you could think of it as it is military based originally. I mean, I understand that. And there's a lot of techniques in there. I mean, which come from, I think, many selected martial arts, Jiu Jitsu being one of them. So, with the sort of movement and throws and takedowns, and a lot of the groundwork now that's coming into Kpop, you find Jiu Jitsu, as the core, as the base for that. So yeah, I mean, but again, Kpop, there's a lot of martial arts in there. It's a good all round, sort of real street, if you like, combative defense.
So what's interesting about KAPAP is that over the years, like with karate, like with jiu-jitsu, like with lots of things, it's evolved, it's morphed, it's changed, and there are now a number of different organizations that are representing that particular style in the same way that Krav has sort of done the same over many, many years. But what I find interesting about KAPAP is that, again, there's a misunderstanding that it's the same as Krav Maga. However, there are nuances and differences. How do you see that?
Oh, right, that's a question. That's quite a question. I personally, well, I'm with Global Kpop with Adrian Bellman, and basically, I feel that it comes through as quite I don't mean pure. It's it's really real. The trainings seems to be, quite real. What it isn't, I'll tell you what it isn't. It's not McDojo, and I use that term quite loosely, but it's not like go and spend £500 on a suit, go and do this, go and do that, and go and teach some techniques against knives and guns that are not working. It's not that at all. I mean, I won't be part of that. What I feel for the Kpop that I'm working with now is that it's pretty decent. It's really good. It's really real. I feel the techniques work, and with the background of Jiu Jitsu for all these years, I threw myself in there, to be honest. I just threw myself in there. Right, I fancy a bit of a challenge. This was quite a number of years ago now. I fancy a challenge. I want to see how this goes. My jiu-jitsu career is great. It's wonderful. It's brilliant, and I love it. And I'm good at it, or else I wouldn't be here. I'm decent at it. And I just fancy the challenge. So I went in there and I thought, whoa, okay, hang on a minute. These guys are really, really going for it. So instead of it's not the odd stab here and there with like, it's machine gun stabbing, if you like. If you're using the knives, if you're using sticks, again, it's real stuff. It's coming in at full force, and it seems to be realistic to the street, and that's what I like about it. I mean, I can't really compare it with other Kpaps or other systems. I've seen them, but I can't really compare because I've not done it. But for me personally, this is something that it works. It seems to work really well. And yeah, and you go on that training ground or that mat or in that field, and you train really properly, and you're gonna get a hit. You're gonna get no arcs. You're gonna get come away with lots of bruises because it's real. And that's the thing that I liked about it. And I think Kpop for me, yeah, that's the reality of the street.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Again, when I first sort of fell into it, it was a similar process, and I enjoyed the application of it. I think that's the best way of putting it, rather than having that sort of that agreed performance where everybody's got a role. It was the chaos that was sort of the draw, because it wasn't pre-organized. It wasn't a set outcome. It was, well, you're going to get it wrong. That's kind of the point. So yeah, I totally get you on that. But I'm going to track back, just because the conversation is it's meant to be an overview of an introduction of who you are for the festival and things like that. However, we do want a little bit of an actual sort of chat about things as well. And you mentioned the dreaded word McDojo, which is great, because I want to just quickly flirt with that, because not in a way to be dismissive of anybody else or what they do, because that's not the intention with the festival. Quite the opposite. It's to bring everyone together. But it's an interesting terminology. And so I know a lot of traditionalists that would accuse Krav Maga and KAPAP of being exactly that. And then I also know a number of Krav KAPAP guys and combative guys that would accuse the other side of that. And so everyone's calling everybody else the same thing to a degree, which is fascinating. So, but the reason that I'm asking you specifically is because, as you've said, like a lot of other people I know, you've done a lot of traditional specific training over a very long period of time. But then the KAPAP and the Krav format is actually more geared towards intense instructor training over a period of weeks, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's something that I found. Again, I suppose if you scale it back to where it actually came from, and a military base, it was military based, and it was for conscripts perhaps, and then obviously taken through into higher levels during the training and army and everything else. And I suppose it has to be a short, sharp sort of number of techniques, and the same for the number of weeks in learning and training. But I mean, the system is quite deep, to be honest. There's quite a depth to it as you get into it, and I think it's nice that for me that it's sort of reality based. I mean, I'm not going to knock Jiu Jitsu or anything like that ever. I mean, because Jiu Jitsu works. It does work if you're doing it in a way that's not choreographed, in a way that's not, oh, I'm going to punch you now, that way, because we don't train like that anyway. I mean, we train quite realistically in Jiu Jitsu, so. In that respect, it sort of followed on for me, and it sort of complemented jiu-jitsu, and they complement each other.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
You'll find that you'll be teaching a technique in jiu-jitsu like I do occasionally, and I'll slip into Kpop, and I'll go, whoa, okay, so we're going to do it like this now. So there we go. And and it sort of complements each other in a way, if you know what I mean. I've tried to see both sides of the traditional and the, shall we say, more modern, and sort of put them together in a way.
Yeah. Well, I think you've got the best of both worlds personally, because there's that. I think one of the things that some of the more modern approaches is lacking is that foundational level of embedded skill that only comes from a long period of repetition and ingrained movement, and that foundational sort of level. Perhaps we are shying away a little bit from in the modern age, and maybe that's where the terminology dojo should live. Because without that foundational level, it's quite hard then to be able to build on that in a way that has substance and will last, I think. But from what you were saying there, that's where I agree in myself, in that you've got that foundational level, but then the KAPAP just adds on another layer, brings another layer to it, gives another expression of it. So is that what you're going to be looking to teach at the festival? What are you aiming to do when you're there?
Right, I think predominantly I'm going to be teaching jiu-jitsu, but it's not, again, like the choreographed jiu-jitsu you see. So it's from real situation jiu-jitsu. It's from I wouldn't say breakaway skills as such, but it's from a proper punch, a two punches, maybe a multiple attack. So what we're looking at doing is probably some more situational stuff. So getting out of a hold. Working out how to free yourself from a takedown, for instance, sort of more of a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu style takedown. And we're going to be working on techniques that are probably more current today, rather than, ancient techniques. But again, the core runs all the way through the Jiu-Jitsu. It's, like you say, time served, isn't it? So, the experience will come through from that. But yes, some real techniques that work, and I tend to sort of balance myself on that and say, look, I don't really teach anything that doesn't work too well. We work on stuff that when we work hard to get it right, and we work hard from different situations, and we make sure it works. So that's where I'll be coming from, that perspective.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think one of the great things about things like the festival and any kind of networking interaction crossover is actually the similarities and the principles, because if a principle's good, you'll find it in just about everything that you do. So so sticking a label on it from the point of view of what we're doing is really just to give people a start point, so that they can have a sort of an idea of what they're going to be looking at. But yeah, the label is nothing more than that, really, because it transcends, I think anyway, the principles transcend the style in the sense that it crosses over. So you're there for the full weekend, yeah?
I'm going to be there. Yeah, I'm going to be there.
Fantastic.
For the weekend, yeah.
Fantastic. So there'll be a couple of different opportunities then to get on the mats with you and to do some training with you, which is great. So in the meantime, how can people contact you if they want to get in touch?
Basically, I mean, Warrior Martial Arts in Nottingham. I mean, if you look that up, we're there everywhere. We've got a Facebook group as well, Warrior Martial Arts, and just get in touch. As simple as that. Just give me a bell or have a look what we're doing, and that's as simple as that.
Okay, fantastic. So I'll put the link down in the comments for the website on that for anyone who wants to reach out. And we really look forward to seeing you at the festival. Thank you for being involved.
Brilliant. Thank you for the interview, Matt. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome.
Take care.